Situational interview questions, sample answers tips.
Why are you interested in this position?
In my opinion, education should be accessible and transformative, and I was always driven by the ambition to work in an organization that shares these beliefs. Your company's commitment to education aligns with my career plans and values like passion for lifelong learning, innovation, and integrity.
Why did you leave your previous job?
I've been in sales for years, across different industries and roles. I thoroughly enjoy my career, but lately, I've been feeling a bit of stagnation. My company's structure is rigid and doesn't encourage internal promotions, but I'm ready for more responsibilities. I know I can't get them in my current company, so I think now is a good time to part ways. The logical next step would be a strategic role, and I already dipped my toes in that area when I coached new team members and adjusted our quarterly strategy last year. I'd love to focus on that kind of work in the future, developing and implementing sales strategies and leading a strong sales team. When I saw the job description for this opening, I thought I would be a great fit.
What would you do if you had to resolve a conflict within your team?
If there was a conflict in the team, I would speak with each person individually to understand the conflict better, then organize a meeting to try to resolve it. I had a similar situation as a hotel front desk manager a few years ago when, during peak season at the resort, some reception workers felt that the workload was unfairly distributed. There was bitterness and tension, which I knew could potentially impact their quality of service. I needed to address the conflict quickly and effectively to prevent it from disrupting the smooth operation of the reception desk. I initiated one-on-one conversations with each team member involved in the conflict, and tried to provide them with a safe space to express their concerns openly. I listened to their perspectives and tried to show empathy and understanding for their feelings and frustrations. I then organized a team meeting where I set ground rules to ensure that communication remained respectful and constructive. Each team member was given the opportunity to share their thoughts and experiences without interruption. We identified the underlying issues that contributed to the conflict, like communication breakdowns and differing perceptions of fairness. Then, we developed an action plan to clarify roles and responsibilities, and implement fair and transparent processes for workload distribution.
Describe how you would explain a complex issue to someone with no knowledge of the subject.
My approach would mirror teaching someone to swim by starting in the shallow end, gradual, accessible, and without overwhelming them. Whenever I need to explain something highly technical to someone without specialized knowledge, I begin with the basics, identify the fundamental concepts that must be understood as a foundation, avoid industry jargon or, if it's unavoidable, make sure to define any technical terms in simple language. Next, I use analogies and metaphors that relate to everyday experiences. For instance, explaining a computer network can be likened to a postal system, where messages, data packets, are sent to specific addresses, IP addresses. I do my best to break the issue down into smaller, digestible pieces to make learning less intimidating. After explaining a section, I always check for understanding before moving on. Sometimes, visual aids prove helpful, too. Diagrams, charts, or even quick sketches can provide more clarity than wordy explanations. Visuals serve as anchors for the concepts we're explaining. Lastly, I encourage questions and make it clear that there is no such thing as a stupid question. Sometimes, the questions asked can give great insights into which part of the explanation didn't land and needs to be approached differently.
How to answer situational interview questions. Use the STAR method. The STAR method is a proven formula you can use to give structured and impactful answers to situational questions. These questions require you to tell a story, and it's easy to lose track of time or go into unnecessary details if there's no structure to your narrative. STAR stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result and can be broken down like this. Situation. Start by describing the situation so that your interviewer understands the context. Task. Briefly describe your specific task or responsibility in that situation. Action. Describe what exact actions you would take to achieve the set goal. Result. Finish by pointing out the tangible results of your actions. Bonus points if you can quantify them. Ideally, your answer should be 1 to 2 minutes long, and you'd spend most of the time talking about the actions and results. Stay relevant and concise. Interviewers like clear and short answers that get straight to the point. You want to provide a targeted, on-point answer, so avoid going into too much detail or giving several unrelated examples from the past. One solid example is enough. By being concise, you maximize the impact of your response and avoid diluting the key points. Emphasize flexibility, problem-solving ability, and outcomes. To give a good answer, you need to analyze the question and figure out what skills and qualities the interviewers are probing for. If they ask, imagine a team member isn't contributing their fair share of work. What do you do? They're asking about communication and problem solving. What language would you use to start the conversation and give constructive criticism? What would you recommend that the employee do? How would you present this as a serious issue without blaming them? Would you be able to handle this yourself without involving the higher-ups? If the conversation turned into a conflict, what would you do to stay professional? It's important to focus on the outcome. The employer wants to know if you're a person who can deliver results and not turn into a liability. Show you can handle situations with soft skills like flexibility, team spirit, and communication while keeping the company goals in mind, and you'll be fine. Prepare example situations before the interview. Even if scenario-based questions ask you to imagine future or hypothetical situations, you can always say I've had a similar experience in my last role. And then answer the same way you'd answer a behavioral question, while still sticking to the STAR formula. That's why it's crucial to prepare diverse examples from various aspects of your career before the interview. Even if you're applying for a different role or industry, there will always be a way to connect the previous experience to a possible future one. Take this example: a person who's been a marketer for years, but had worked as a high school teacher earlier in their career is negotiating their promotion to head of content. On paper, they have zero leadership experience. But in reality, they spent years managing classrooms of 30 students. So if they got asked, you have to lead a team through a crisis or unexpected challenge? What do you do? Or how would you communicate a difficult decision that you know would be unpopular with your team? They would have a lot of examples to draw from. Avoid generic responses. When answering situational interview questions, always personalize the answer to the company, role, and repeat the specific wording of the question. Giving generic answers won't get you far. The interviewers are looking for something to distinguish you from other candidates. Instead of giving long intros or talking theory, address the specific scenario from the question directly. This will show them that you understand the question and can provide relevant information. Why do interviewers ask questions about made-up scenarios? Interviewers ask questions about made-up scenarios to test your thought processes and problem-solving skills. The main purpose of these questions is to assess your ability to think critically and make informed decisions in real-world situations you'll encounter in the role. I was never in a situation I'm being asked about. What do I say? When faced with a hypothetical scenario that you haven't encountered before, be honest about your lack of direct experience. Then try to ascertain what skills the question is asking about: problem-solving, decision-making, communication, resourcefulness, and then propose a theoretical approach that aligns with the company values and industry best practices, while highlighting your skills in those areas. What are the most difficult situational interview questions? Some of the most difficult situational interview questions are: what would you do if your manager asked you to do something unethical? Or how would you respond if your boss asked you for your honest opinion about a bad idea? Most candidates dislike questions that can expose weaknesses, questions about stress, conflict resolution, and failures. Is it possible for the whole interview to be scenario-based? It's rare, but possible. For example, instead of a traditional question like how do you handle stress, you may get a hypothetical scenario: what would you do if you were given conflicting priorities from multiple supervisors? This format makes it easier for employers to assess your ability to apply skills and competencies to real-world situations. In what industries are situational interview questions most commonly used? Situational interviews tend to be more common for roles or industries where specific skills and problem-solving abilities are highly valued. These include leadership or management positions, customer service, sales, advisory roles, teaching, emergency response, and crisis management. Thank you for watching this video. Good luck.